All right, today we're diving into a way of looking at the universe that might just flip your whole perspective. We're going to explore early Mormon eschatology. That's the study of the end times. But forget what you think you know. This isn't a straight line heading towards some final fiery end. No, it's more like a stunning, complex geometry of existence, where everything is designed to circle back, to return to its perfect original state.
And this, right here, is the key that unlocks the whole thing. The idea that we live in a universe where time is not a line, but a circle. Just think about that for a second. In this view, the future isn't just some unknown territory out there. It's fundamentally tied to the past. It creates this kind of cosmic symmetry that changes, well, pretty much everything.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at time itself and this idea of it being like a poem. Then, we'll see how that grand idea gets anchored to a real physical place on Earth. After that, and you're going to love this, we'll explore an apocalypse that looks a lot like a bureaucratic rescue mission. Then we'll get into the weird physics of salvation. And finally, we'll talk about planet Earth itself as a kind of spaceship on a journey home.
Okay, so let's jump into our first section. The fundamental idea here is that the end times aren't about destruction. They're about restitution. It's a grand restoration of all things, where all of history is structured with the elegance and balance of a perfectly written poem.
You know, this slide really lays it out perfectly. Most of us, we think of time like that arrow on the left, just one thing after another, a series of random events moving forward. But this theology sees it completely differently, like the circle on the right. It's a poem. It has what's called temporal symmetry. And what that means is that the beginning doesn't just kick things off. It's actually destined to meet the end.
So you might be wondering, okay, that's a cool idea, but how does it actually work? Well, a big abstract concept like temporal symmetry needs a physical anchor to make it real. In this worldview, that anchor isn't just an idea, it's a specific spot you can find on a map.
And that place is called Adam Ondia Ammon. According to Joseph Smith, this valley, right in Missouri, is where the biblical Adam gave his children a final blessing before he died. But that's not where its story ends. Not even close. It's the linchpin, the exact point where the past and the future are set to collide.
And this just shows that symmetry so brilliantly. You have this one valley, and it's the stage for two colossal events. One happened in the ancient past with Adam's blessing, and the other is set to happen right before Christ's final return. The whole formal process of ending the world kicks off in the exact same spot where humanity's story got its blessing. It's a perfect narrative circle, right? The beginning is the end.
Okay, this brings us to the human part of the equation. Because this whole eschatology isn't about just sitting around and passively waiting for the sky to fall. It totally reframes the end of the world into an urgent, active project, and it needs massive human participation to work.
And this is where it gets really unique. With doctrines like baptism for the dead being introduced, suddenly the apocalypse became, well, an administrative challenge. Seriously. The goal was to research and index the entire human family tree, to create an unbroken chain linking every single person all the way back to Adam. It's eschatology as genealogy, a cosmic rescue mission carried out with meticulous record-keeping.
So, the takeaway here is this radical idea of a dependent deity. God's grand plan for saving everyone, it isn't just a top-down order. It actually depends on the hard, administrative work of regular people here on Earth. The final act literally cannot begin until the paperwork is finished.
Now, this focus on human participation completely flips the script on the nature of evil. Traditionally, you think of the Antichrist as some figure who claims to be God. But in this view, the Antichrist isn't a person at all. It's any philosophy or system that tells human beings they can't achieve their divine potential. The final battle isn't about who God is, it's about what humanity has the potential to become.
And the stakes of that battle aren't your typical heaven or hell pass-fail test. Instead, this vision lays out a three-tiered cosmos. You've got different degrees of glory that are compared to the light of the sun, the moon, and the stars. So for most people, judgment isn't about eternal fire. It's about finding your proper place in this vast, differentiated afterlife.
All right, now we're going to take a turn because things are about to get even weirder. We're pivoting from theology to something that honestly sounds a lot like spiritual physics. This isn't about some floaty, immaterial heaven. It's about a literal change in the very state of matter.
And it all hangs on this one core teaching from Joseph Smith. All spirit is matter. It's just a more fine or pure kind of matter. Now think about the implications of that. If spirit is physical, then spiritual events have to follow physical laws. The divine and the physical aren't two separate worlds. They're on the same material continuum.
So what does that mean for the second coming? Well, it stops being just a metaphor. It's described as a literal thermal event. Christ's glory gives off a physical frequency of light and heat. And according to this view, if your own spiritual matter isn't tuned to that same frequency, you physically can't withstand it. It's not a punishment. It's just a law of cosmic thermodynamics.
And that mark of the beast we hear about, it ties right back into this idea of limitation. The mark is about dedicating your mind, your work, your whole being solely to the rat race of the material world, a system called Babylon, where human souls are basically treated like merchandise, and their true cosmic potential is totally denied.
Okay, for our final section, let's zoom the camera all the way out. We're going from the fate of humanity to the fate of the planet itself. Because in this story, the Earth isn't just the stage where the drama plays out, it's a character with its very own cosmic destiny.
And to understand that destiny, we have to go cosmic. Texts like the Book of Abraham introduce a star called Kolob, which is described as the star closest to God's throne. And just like that, eschatology becomes exotheology. We're talking about cosmic government and celestial geography now.
And this gives us this powerful, beautiful metaphor for the Earth's fate. The end of the world isn't about destruction, it's a journey home. Early church leaders talked about the Earth as a ship that was cast out into the lonely darkness of space. And the second coming, that's the moment it's finally towed back into the harbor of light, returning to its original glorified position in the cosmos.
And the final state of our planet is just stunning. I mean, listen to this. It goes through its own resurrection. It's sanctified, immortalized. It literally becomes a sea of glass, a giant crystal. It then functions as what's called a Urim and Thummim, a divine instrument for revelation that allows the people living on it to see and understand the histories of other lower worlds. The planet itself becomes a kind of living cosmic computer.
So, after all that, what are we left with? What does it all mean? The crucial point is that this is not a story about helpless people waiting for doomsday. It's a profound call to what the source material calls cosmic citizenship. It's a call to see ourselves as essential, active participants in a vast, genealogical, and physical renovation of the entire universe.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. This whole cosmic framework, with its cycles and its symmetries, it puts an immense responsibility right here, on the present moment. It suggests our actions aren't just random events, they're part of a grand, symmetrical structure. So it asks us to consider, if history really is a poem, what verse are we writing today?